What is curriculum development? Based on what I have learned, curriculum development is a process that systematically organizes what will be instructed. Each component influences and interacts with other components. For example, what will be instructed is influenced by who being instructed. They are arranged for development in age, maturity, and the instructions. Strategies of how content is instructed are influenced by who is being instructed, their characteristics, and the setting. They have four phases development. First is planning. The planning phase lays the establishment for all of the curriculum's development steps. The first steps in this phase is identifying issues, problems, and needs. The need for curriculum development usually develops from a concern around a major issues or problem. The second step is forming a curriculum development team. In this step is done after the nature and scope of the issue is addressed that's the time when the curriculum team can be selected. The objective is to obtain expertise for the areas included within the scope of the curriculum content among the group members and create a compelling team. Lastly, the step needed is to conduct needs assessments and analysis. The first phase in these steps is the needs assessment. In this first procedure, where several strategies are focused on learning, it is about what is needed by whom relative to the recognized issue. Strategies covered in this stage incorporate knowledge, attitudes, and the practice surveys. The second phase in these steps is the analysis. This illustrated the strategies or method on how to utilize the data and the outcomes of the information collected. It, it identifies the gap or spaces from the information, a process to prioritize needs and recognition of the characteristics of students. Second is designing. The designing phase determines the expecting result, what learners will be able to do after participation in curriculum exercises. The content will be instructed and strategies how it will be instructed. The steps incorporated in this phase state-ended outcomes, selecting the content, and designing the experimental methods. After doing the steps included in the phase 1, the steps indicated in phase 2 must be accomplished. It needs to determine what are intended outcomes or the educational objectives. It follows by selecting content that will be taught to the student. Lastly, the teacher must design experimental methods or strategies that cover the concept such as experiences, share, process, generalize, and application. Number 3 is implementing. The implementation phase incorporates producing curriculum products, test and revise the curriculum, recreate and train facilitators in implementing the curriculum. After successfully doing phase 2, which is designing the curriculum, the next thing to do is it suggested for finding and evaluating the existing materials. It needs to be evaluated using specific criteria, and then that's the time for producing the curriculum materials. A curriculum must undergo testing and revision after it is produced. The testing must be evaluated to determine if it needs to undergo a revision. The next thing to do is recruiting and training the facilitators of the curriculum. It is highly suggested to have a training program so that the development curriculum of materials will not become wasted or pointless. Afterward, the implementation of the curriculum will be happen, it will be effective. The number 4 is evaluating. The evaluation phase in the curriculum covers the designing of the evaluation strategies, reporting, and securing resources. The two types of evaluation are formative and summative evaluation. The formative evaluations are utilized amid the needs assessment, product advancement, and testing steps. Summative evaluations are embraced to measure and report on the result of the curriculum. These steps is reviews, assessment, procedures, and proposes basic method to deliver substantial and reliable data. An arrangement of questions is posed to direct the summative evaluation process and sample evaluation format is recommended. Reporting and securing resources is the final step. The reporting must indicate and how the effectiveness to the audience for them to support the curriculum enhancement. Thus, they can provide help in securing the resources to be justifiable and accountable. The evaluation and reporting strategies are centered on providing evidence to support the effectiveness of the development curriculum. Fundamentals of curriculum designing. Behavioral objectives or intended learning outcomes, and second, content or subject matter, and third, the reference, and fourth is teaching methods. Assessment and evaluation. Self-assessment requires students to reflect on their work and judge how well they have performed in the connection to evaluation criteria. The center is not essentially on having students create their grades, but rather giving opportunities for them to evolve, to distinguish what constitutes a great piece of work. Peer assessment. It includes students taking obligation for evaluating the work of their peers against set evaluation criteria. The assessment and evaluation are very important in the learning process. It is used to determine if the written objective in the curriculum is met at the instruction. Self-assessment. Peer assessment and teacher assessment have their own identified purpose to use. These assessments are used to evaluate the standing of themselves and others. It is also significant to use to easily monitor each other's success. Kinds of assessment. Formative assessment. The objective of formative assessment is to screen student learning and give continuous feedback to staff and students. It is an assessment for learning. If planned suitably, it assesses students to distinguish their qualities and shortcomings. It can empower students to progress their self-regulatory aptitudes. Summative assessment. The objective of summative assessment is to assess learning after the instructional unit by comparing it against a benchmark. Summative assessment frequently have high stakes and are treated by the students as they need over development assessments. However, criticism from summative assessments can be utilized formatively by both student and faculty to direct their endeavors and exercises in ensuing courses. Conclusion. In conclusion, change is inevitable and it happens in the curriculum. The curriculum needs to be enhanced so what it can help the learners to learn more effectively. Curriculum development is continuous process assist the learners to be able to acquire the goal and objective of teaching. Also, the four phase of the curriculum must be considered and strictly follows to achieve effective curriculum development. It needs to be planned, designed, implemented, and evaluated. Besides, there are fundamentals of curriculum designing that need to be addressed. These are behavioral objectives or intended learning outcomes, content of subject matter, reference, and teaching methods. At the end of every instructions, the assessments and evaluation must be done to determine if the objective is achieved.